Hello and welcome to Let's Review. Last week I had a little break. I recharged the old batteries, saw a bit of Shakespeare. Generally I had myself a nice little holiday. As a result, there is no Let's Play this week, but I still felt the need to put something out this Friday, so as a result it is once again time to go digging in the crate. Sometimes it's fun to be evil. I think that's something that every gamer has experienced from time to time, from running over pedestrians on purpose in an open world game, to deliberately trying to shoot your own team in the back in an FPS. I'm sure at one time or another, every one of us has tried to do something just a little bit bad. But every so often, a game comes along that not only allows for it, but downright encourages it. I've talked in the past about Evil Genius, but that's far from the only one to do it. So this week, I want to talk about Overlord. Did I not read somewhere that there is a new one of those coming out? Sort of. I'll come back to that point later, okay? Overlord is a very odd duck of a game, because while it controls like a fairly standard third-person action game, it borrows elements heavily from RTS games. The reason for this is that you spend near enough all of the game being followed around by a pack of minions who will obey your every command. Provided those commands are limited to go over there and smash that thing, because honestly, they're kind of stupid. In a badly programmed sense or in a serious concussion sense? Mostly the second one. The minions are not supposed to be terribly bright, but one thing they do that's quite cute is that they will loot the environment for armour and weapons, and they're not terribly fussy about what counts as their buff, leading to things like door handles as clubs or pumpkins as helmets. I'll be honest, the minions are absolutely the best thing about this game, for the simple reason that they actually managed to pack a shocking amount of personality in spite of the fact that they never speak, outside of, well, growls and grunts, and the occasional squeak of delight. Ah, rather like you then. You are in a weird mood this week. You are not the only one who is in need of a holiday. Besides, I'm also partial to a little Shakespeare myself, and, well, frankly, I feel better than I have done in quite some time. Well, I'm glad to hear it. The minions come in four varieties. You have browns, which are your basic brawlers, reds, which throw fireballs and can run through fires without being affected by them, greens, which are your stealth units that knife enemies in the back, while also being immune to poison, and blues, who act as your medics, running out onto the battlefield, picking up fallen minions and bringing them back to you to resurrect them, and they're also the only ones capable of swimming. While you start off with a fairly small group, by the end of the game you'll be controlling up to 50 of the little buggers. And frankly, the control scheme that's used to actually order them around is not great. You can certainly make use of it, and it's not too bad, but you've got to be willing to put in the effort to learn it. Is that not true for most new control systems? Yes, but you'll be fighting this one more than most. As I said, you can absolutely make it work, just not necessarily with the accuracy that you might want at times. The Overlord himself is also kind of dull as a character, largely because he is basically just your generic, big, imposing figure in black armour, and he never says a word. Now, to be fair, I do actually like a lot of the designs in this game, including the design of the Overlord himself. However, it would have been nice if he'd said anything, really. Well, the assumption always seems to be that that helps you inhabit the character more, so I assume that was the case here. I appreciate that, but personally, I do prefer voiced characters. I just find the whole blank slate thing a little difficult to get into. Regardless, the game begins with the Overlord being pulled out of his tomb by a small group of his minions. He awakens to discover that, since he was supposedly killed by a group of 7 heroes, his tower has basically fallen apart, his minions have been scattered to the four winds, and overall things are not going well for the side of evil. As such, he sets out into the world in an attempt to recover his lost minions, recover his lost artifacts to restore power to his tower, and eventually to find and kill each of the 7 heroes that bested him before. Except when he encounters them, he discovers that each of them has been corrupted by one of the 7 deadly sins. Ah yes, that old favourite. I'm not going to argue that it hasn't been done before, but I do genuinely like its execution here. It leads to each of the bosses having a very unique and interesting feel, from the Elven Lord, who was so slovenly that he ended up having a massive tree grow around him and into him while he slept, to the Dwarven King, who has become so greedy and obsessed with gold that he now rides around in a massive battle wagon containing loads of it, while wearing a fairly epic suit of solid gold armour. Somehow I can't imagine that being terribly effective. No, but it does look very pretty. The game has a sort of morality system, which it refers to as corruption. And honestly, it's to this game's detriment. Because in a game about being evil, quite often it means that you won't be. Take, for example, after you defeat the first boss, Melvin, a halfling who has come to embody gluttony, you find the stash of food that he has stolen from the local town. And after you've defeated him, you can choose to either return it to the townspeople or keep it for yourself. Giving it back does not sound particularly evil. Well, unless it's fast food, anyway. No, it's not. To both your points. The problem with the corruption system is that it presents the truly evil choice as being the negative thing to do, the thing you want to avoid. But let's be honest, the whole point of this game is to let you be evil. And as a result, all of the evil in this game feels really nerfed, and that is something of a problem. But I will say that with all the problems this game has, and it does have many, I still like it, and there is a lot that I can enjoy in it. Yes, but your standards are not exactly high. I've told you quite a bit about this game, but frankly, I've barely scratched the surface. This game actually has an awful lot more to it, from customizing your tower to forging your own armour and weapons, which incidentally includes the rather adorably painful sight of minions hurling themselves into the fire in order to enhance what you are busy forging. It's also pretty damn funny on occasion. Your advisor, Gnarl, has some truly hilarious deadpan lines. And then, of course, there's your minion Jester, and, well, frankly, the less said about him, the better. Look, Overlord is flawed. I'm certainly not going to deny that, but I will say that a lot of its problems were addressed in the sequel. But I'm going to talk about that some other time. And then there was the recent announcement. Yes, you did say that you wanted to talk about that. Yes, I did. Fairly recently, there was an announcement, a teaser image that showed the Overlord's trademark helmet. This got a lot of people excited, including myself, because frankly, I'd play a third Overlord game. I really liked the first 2. Unfortunately, when they actually revealed the game itself, it turned out to be a Diablo-esque co-op dungeon crawler played from an isometric perspective, and apparently it's about multiple overlords working together to defeat dungeon bosses. Frankly, everybody took one look at it and just thought, this is not Overlord, this is some random game that you've applied an Overlord coat of paint to. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that that is the case. Information on this game at the moment is still pretty thin on the ground, so it could genuinely be a good follow-up to the Overlord games. But let's be honest, taking a game and just giving it a coat of paint to give it a link to a popular franchise would not exactly be unheard of. It's not even particularly uncommon. Sadly, no, it's not. Overlord is a flawed game, but I would absolutely recommend it if you have a slightly evil streak, and if you appreciate a game that can genuinely be quite funny on occasion. It's definitely got its problems, but overall, while it falls far short of greatness, it's very enjoyable, especially if you can get the version that includes the Raising Hell expansion. Now, if you'll excuse me, I feel like seeing a true example of evil. So I'm going to go see if I can find out what the hell corporate America's plans for this franchise are. I'll see you later.